All right. Good morning. Let me turn this down a little bit. Whoa, 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 whoa. I just pushed the wrong button. Hold on. Okay. There we go. We can start here. Good morning, everybody. Got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. And man, I gotta figure out how to fix this stand thing. Okay. If that, I haven't figured out a really effective way to test what you guys hear yet. I just haven't taken this step. I know it's not that hard. All I gotta do is stream it in another room and listen to it. But I just haven't yet. So if you guys, if that background audio is too loud, let me know. I think it's okay now. Anyway, welcome to Mogul Apprentice. I curse once in a while, so this is not family-friendly content. This is Tech Tuesday, Bleeding Edge Tech Talk. We're definitely going to be talking bleeding edge today, and you guys are going to hear a lot of terms that you probably haven't heard before, and if you have, I'll certainly present you a different way of thinking about those terms. So let's get into it. All of this is my own opinion, of course. Do your own fucking research. All right, last week I did episode called Enter the Matrix. I guess it's a couple weeks ago now. I was really sick last week, but we could continue in that vein with Enter the Matrix Part 2. And today we'll talk about the next evolution of the thought that I've had. And last week I just arrogantly, I guess, called myself Morpheus. It's just what I feel like now, and not the Morpheus from the movies that does the red pill, blue pill shit. I'm past that. I'm a Morpheus on the right. Let's have a fucking dance party now and figure out how to have fun inside this Matrix. And we go back into the Matrix. Let's do, like, Morpheus was the leader of showing those guys how to go back into the Matrix. So they went back in looking badass with slick leather jackets. I mean, Morpheus jackets was a Prada jacket that was $16,000 or some shit like that. Badass sunglasses, those cool sliding phones like nobody had seen before. Dude, that's how you go back in the Matrix. So that's how I want to do it. And the movie Ready Player One started to... I just realized I wasn't showing my screen. It's okay. The movie Ready Player One, well, let me back up and show you the slide. This is the Morpheus that I was talking about. Left, right, Morpheus. Make sure you saw my parental advisory. Blah, 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 blah. So, this is not the movie poster for Ready Player One, but this is one that was styled after The Matrix. I thought it was great. It's a fan-made thing. It's really cool. And in my opinion, really, the Ready Player One it's a little childish, but it's an evolution of the Matrix idea, almost like a prequel. And it really is kind of like a prequel because it maps out a world where in the future most everybody lives in virtual reality, and they wear haptic feedback suits, and the virtual reality is so good that it's people just live there. Well, man, we have that happening right now. It's literally happening right now. So it's not some fantasy thing that's way out there. Now, the environment they lived in and the story behind it was a fantasy a bit, but holy shit, we could create the exact same thing like this week. I mean, it's here. It's already existing. And so... And inside these VR worlds, there are new games that you can play inside of virtual reality that allow you to make games. So you go inside of a game to use tools to make a game. They have VR tools for making games. They have VR sculpting tools where you're making digital representations of art in whatever scale. Some of these scales are gigantic. People mapping out the entire New York City block in VR that you can walk through and all this stuff. I mean, this is it. We're in the fucking Matrix. So the movie Ready Player One really spells out a pretty fucking realistic abstract view. Pretty realistic abstract view. How about that for a sentence? It's an interesting view of what I think is somewhat probable near future. And the reason is because we already have people living in VR. And the reason that most people haven't is just because they haven't experienced it, or they have experienced it and it was not that great a technology. And as we know, these displays and the speed and the latency and the screen door effect and all that stuff are all getting better and better and better and better and better constantly. And now every telecommunications company is trying to force 5G down our throats. They're going to have it. It's going to be everywhere on some level. The health benefits. Sorry. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I still have a lot of crap in my lungs coming up from being ill. I feel fine. I just got stuff coming up in my lungs. But, so yeah, we're gonna have super fast internet, 5G level in some fashion somewhere. I mean, it's just, you can see the entire world trying to shove that shit down our throats, for whether we want it or not. So on some level, even if it's not a 5G technology, we're going to have some ultra big bandwidth internet very soon, where like these 3D virtual worlds it's not hard to go in and out of them and load them from small devices and things. They're inexpensive. I mean, big bandwidth changes everything. I mean, fuck, it changes everything. I don't think you guys realize it, man. I mean, our entire lives will change. Just skip the health issues with 5G, because 5G is equivalent to taking your phone and going and sitting inside of a microwave oven. Yeah, you'll have lightning fast internet inside of a microwave oven, but you're being fucking microwaved to death. So that's what 5G does. So skip all the health issues, but bandwidth is always the thing. When you have that much bandwidth, that means you can pump so much more data. Then 3D becomes trivial. 3D, which we're going to talk about a lot today, it's inevitable. We're moving into a full 3D web world. And if you guys are not thinking about this, from your e-commerce stores to your funnels to even simple things like sales videos, sales pages, it's all changing. It's going to change fucking fast. I mean, fast. All it takes is bandwidth. Because once you've got that bandwidth, then you've got all this space to do so many more creative things. So we're coming up on a Ready Player One world. Well, guess what makes the Ready Player One world work? If you guys remember from it, if you guys haven't seen it, you should watch it. But it's advertising. I mean, it's what drives the internet now. It's fucking advertising. So who's got to be the first to step out there and innovate this stuff? Well, obviously it's the gamers. The gamers do it, and then industry picks up on it somewhere, and then we got military applications. The NFL is even now training NFL quarterbacks in virtual reality so that they can train and get the sense of being in a game situation, but without risking their fucking health. I mean, shit's gonna change, man. It's already changing. So as the bleeding edge people that can perceive an edge with it are, of course, porn. VR porn's been out there forever. They're always innovator in this stuff, but that's always the top tier. What comes next? Always, always, always. Anytime there's a new innovation with a new way to message people, a new way for people to experience things, or a new way people are gathering together in any sort of fashion, marketing and advertising. So as internet marketers, we need to be looking at this and planning and building for the future. And I'm already started. I'm way deep in it already. And I'm going to show you what some of this is going to look like. in the future. So let's talk about a little bit. Now, recently we talked about, in previous episodes, we talked about tech with the future. This is super important because tech just changes so goddamn fast. It's hard to know where to dive into. And with so many people creating framework after framework after framework, everybody and their brother's got their own version of a JavaScript framework now. It's goddamn ridiculous. Which one do you learn? Well, I say fuck all those things and just learn vanilla JavaScript, because compilers now, the bleeding edge compilers now are all compiling down to vanilla JavaScript anyway, so that people can start to build tools or build stuff in basic language that everybody, or a lot more people, understand, I should say. So a great example of this is a tool called Svelte. It's a compiler. It's not a framework. What it does, it allows you to write in just standard basic ass HTML, stuff that a lot of people know and can figure out just by looking at it with very minimal training, and do very advanced things, because what it does is it compiles down to very vanilla, stripped down as far as you can strip it down, JavaScript. And it's called Svelte for a reason. It strips it down to its smallest piece, and removes all the dependencies that are required with all these JavaScript frameworks, which makes everything break, and which makes things slow. It makes all these fucking bugs and weird shit happen you see on websites every day. It's because they have thousands and thousands of dependencies on libraries all over the fucking internet. It's fucking crazy. I mean, it kind of has to work that way on some level. It's all network. That's the idea. But Svelte really trims that down and makes it work so much faster. And then a website it's using Svelte is so fucking fast. It's amazing. So this is just one of the tools. And then, of course, APIs. Learning how to use these tools, specifically learning how APIs interface, is the future of everything. Because really, everything is on the internet is APIs talking to each other. Data back and forth, data back and forth. So you're into data of any sort, get good at APIs. Your future is forever. So one of the most brilliant products that's out there is Zapier. This one right here, lower right hand corner. I wish I had built that fucking company, and I might still build my own version of it someday. But damn, man, what a fucking simple idea that's so beautiful, because they're providing the glue that holds a whole lot of things together. You couple tiny little innovations in there that they do. Nothing super spectacular about what they do, but the way it's packaged and put together, it's fucking brilliant, man. I kicked myself so much that I didn't build something like that and release it as a commercial product myself back in the day, because I built tools like this for myself internally. I just never released them to the public or turned it into a product of any sort. Man, Zapier is fucking badass. Just watch what they're doing. If you have a chance to invest in them somehow, do it. If you have a chance to build tools on top of it, do it. If you're not using it, you should be. I guarantee you there's something that you're missing out on inside of your business, your life even. There's just so much to it. And I bring all that up because these are the tools we're using. Now, I want to go down a little bit, I guess zoom out a little bit higher level, and talk about exactly what to be doing with those tools. Because all those tools are great and everything, but in the end, what are we doing? We're just building websites as they are. I mean, just build what? A different version of the same shit we already have? No, that's not the idea. Why go learn a whole bunch of new things if you're not going to do something new with it? So I've been deep in this thought for lots of years now about where the internet's headed, because it's all been extremely boring to me with the way it is now. It's still boring. I think it's just stupid the way it is. We're still running on shit that worked in 1995. And I understand that we got to have those kind of protocols for future expandability, but man, we allowed these fuckers, Facebook, Apple, the FANGs, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, and Google, to take over the fucking thing, and they turned it into a pile of shit. Now it's just this flat, boring fucking world with Facebook. Goddamn, it's boring. It's and they won't even allow the users of the platform to be creative, have unlimited creativity. So what you've got is a very constrained, it's blue and white, and in whatever pictures they allow you to upload. Bleh, come on, man. This is how social media is supposed to be. This is what you do with your friends. We all sit around and share each other's pictures. Come on, get a fucking life. So this big corporate, and really this all boils down to CIA. The CIA, the NSA, and high levels of governments around the world saw very, very early, in fact, created the fucking internet. It was originally a DARPA product. It was a DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects. It was a DARPA project, a RAPNet. It was, internet was built as a way for the military to network and communicate with each other. It's a fucking military project from word go, and guess what? It never changed. We just plugged into the fucking military. We plugged into the CIA, this fucking thing, and then now we bitch about it. You just gotta understand that. So there's no really way around a lot of the fucking shitty part of it. But there is a way now where things are changing, where these platforms now, like everybody's finally waking up and realizing that Google shit, Facebook shit, Twitter is shit, Apple is shit, Amazon shit. All of these companies fucked us in the ass with a giant dildo, and they didn't put any lube on it. They didn't give us a kiss. They didn't give us any money for it. They just kicked us out the door, and then took all of our privacy and credit card information and everything else on top of it, and then sold that shit to somebody else. It's far, far worse than that. It sounds gross and everything, but it's fucking worse than that. Like if they had actually physically, absolutely raped you with a dildo, guess what? Yeah, that would suck. It'd scar you for a long time, mentally, physically, in all kinds of other ways. But guess what? You'd be over with. It'd be done. It's a one-time event and you move on. All these other fuckers are doing it at the rate of billions of times a day. Over and over and over and over and over. And we're just okay with it. Even me, as much as I bitch about it, I still use all these platforms constantly. Fuck it. They've made it so that we are forced into this shitty corporate run intranet. Shitty. So it's changing though, and Google will eventually be broken up. I don't know what's going to happen to Facebook. Probably similar, but Google certainly. They're the big target. I mean, they're the number one monopoly on the entire planet. I mean, who else has more power than Google on the planet? You could say the U.S. military, but what do they got? I mean, they got the guns, but man, Google has server farms that are nuclear proof. Listen to this, man. I've taken tours of these places. You go in some of these server farms. Dude, I mean, this is full on 8-foot thick concrete doors that, oh man, it's crazy shit. And full on nuclear proof power to these places. Like, man, they are ready. If you can't stop nuclear, can't take a nuclear weapon to Google, what the fuck, man? Who has more power than Google? Anyway, it's not a rant about Google. The point here is that shit's going to start fragmenting quickly. And as we move into things start fragmenting, we're already starting to see it. And I'm going to show you pieces of it. Got to start thinking about things differently. So one of the first things I want to talk about is, my little tool go, is voxels. Voxels is just simply a 3D pixel. A pixel, now a lot of you think you know what pixels are, but you probably haven't thought about it that much. A pixel, it's just a dot, right? Well, that's what everybody says. Well, okay, well, a dot, there's more to it than that. It's actually a dot that has multiple colors attached to it, and then inside of that dot, the colors increase or decrease their brightness, and that's the color. Depending on the brightness of those colors, that's what gets displayed as a color in that pixel. So they mix some colors together in a pixel. So a pixel has some only base information. It has 3 colors information. That's it. And then all that gets mixed together to form one color, and then that gets spread out over millions of these things to form a picture. All right? Well, the difference between a pixel and a voxel is a voxel has depth. It's a 3D thing. So you don't just have the color information, you also have depth information. How deep is that pixel? So if you would imagine a pixel as a 2D thing, like pixels are just a 2D thing. It's just a color flat. That's it. You don't ever think of it as having any sort of depth or what's behind it. Like what's on the backside of a pixel. So a voxel, that's what it is. That's the next level. And it's going to become a term that we talk about as much as we talk about pixels. So get used to it now and get good at it now. And be an expert at it. Start getting some domain names around this shit. I'll show you some stuff here, just to give you a little heads up. You guys, some of you probably already saw this, but I have procedural marketing, which we'll talk about the word procedural in a second. I've got proceduralmarketing.com, and then I have voxelfunnel.com, and I got voxelfunnels.com. Those are the only three I got. There's a whole lot more ideas out that I could lock down, but I'll let you guys scour the marketplace and use your own creativity there. But so voxel marketing, voxel funnels would be the same as thinking of 2D world like we have on the internet right now, would be the same as saying like a pixel funnel. Right now, that's what we have, is pixel funnels. Well, voxel funnels are the evolution of that, which what funnel now is you go through a flow chart, right? And it's a page refresh. You go to another page, or next step in the funnel, quote unquote. Well, voxels takes this depth. So it will remove it's going to actually make fairly nebulous some ideas or concepts that are fairly simple like now, like a page refresh. But how do you have a page refresh if the next action in the funnel is you move 1 inch deeper into the page, or 1 centimeter deeper into the page, or 1 meter, or 1 mile? Or what if, some certain variation between that triggers different events in your funnel? And then you can start having depth, where you can start looking around, and all of a sudden, oh shit, now you can go into a page and turn the fuck around, look outside of the page, and go back out of it. Like portals. So what I'm talking about here is the future of funnels will be such that to go, for example, from my website to your website, you'll go to my website and have some sort of 3D experience, and maybe I'll have something that a portal, or what we would call a button or a link now, that you would click on or go through to get to, say, your website. Well, now we can do that kind of stuff and, make it look cool, whatever. But it's going to require a page refresh, right? Because it's some sort of click. It's got to go to another site, and it's got to pull down all that shit from the server and then load it into the browser and all that. Well, something called procedural generation is the next level of this. We'll talk about it in a second, but I'll give you just a heads up. Procedural generation just means, well, let's just talk about it. Fuck. Procedural generation just means that it's built on the fly. It's built by procedure rather than already built and just sitting there waiting for you to come along, like a lot of websites. So websites are not procedurally generated. Well, if you build a website, it's just sitting there waiting. Whether anybody shows up or not doesn't fucking matter. In a procedural generation world, these websites, funnels with depth I'm talking about, will build themselves on the fly. Like they don't fucking exist really until somebody goes into them and starts making decisions. And then whatever procedures that you've put together that are meant to frame that world will start building it out. So give you an example of that. That's how the game Minecraft is built. So before I show you this, one more point to get across is so we talk about volumetric depth. You're going to hear a lot of things around volumetric video. That's already become kind of a big thing, but man, volumetric video is really fucking hard. So, I mean, what we're talking about is capturing video in 3D and then be able to play back that video in 3D. I don't mean with 3D glasses or with I mean be able to go record a video. Like imagine being able to record a video with your phone and then you go upload it to Facebook and then people can go in and put on their VR headsets and walk into your video. And I don't mean like 360 look around videos like we have now. No, that's pretty trivial. What I'm talking about is go into it, turn around, look around and see it from the back side of the video. So what I mean is you take a video with your phone and it's actually capturing, say you're taking a video of somebody like a selfie or somebody like standing in front of a sunset, for example. Well, a volumetric video would be capturing their back and the top of their head and their sides and the entire environment and capturing every piece of the ground and all of that. So the video, you could walk in and then stand next to the person and look at the back of their head. That's volumetric video. And there is some of that going on out there. It's fucking cool. But man, imagine the amount of data that's there. So volumetric video that's going on now, they're using all kinds of crazy LiDAR systems. Let's see if I can show you an example of a volumetric. Yeah, this one. So this is a volumetric video. Our volumetric camera. It uses 14 Epic Red. Epic Red are the seriously high-end digital cameras that are used for making blockbuster movies. Majorly expensive. So it uses 14 of those, and it's got a LiDAR system. And still, it takes. I mean, it's like a terabyte a second of data. It's a crazy number. So. But the future of that, I mean, this is how originally video was. I mean, it used to, same idea. The files were big, it was hard to process, so crazy. But as you know, guys, eventually we'll have some little thing. It'll have a little widgety thing that sits on the top of our phone and it spins around or something that's got a little LiDAR in it. Whatever, we're ways out from that. But that's what volumetric is. And that's way out there. I mean, we're years out from that before we're like using that on a consistent basis. So way, 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 way before that. I mean, like right now, we can have volumetric website experiences. We can still incorporate live video and do things like that, but you got to do tricks to make it look like that video is actually volumetric. And I'll show you guys how to do it. I've been playing with it. It's fucking cool. But that's what we're talking about. So with procedural generation, one more point before I show you Minecraft again. So something called occlusion. You're going to hear that term a lot in the future. Occlusion will be, I'll make a prediction. I bet some sort of occlusion metric will be some sort of KPI in funnels. Something. Because occlusion means the stuff that you can't see. And if you got a situation where you've got people going through a voxel, procedurally generated voxel funnel, there's going to be occlusion. It's things they can't see. And you want to be measuring the stuff that they can't see, because sometimes the things they can't see might increase or decrease conversions. So I bet you some sort of occlusion KPI will be will be some sort of KPI we use in metrics in the future for funnels. I bet you. So what it means is what we're doing with this is basically eliminating things that we don't see. And what I mean by that is the computer and in the scripts. When you're writing code, a big part of writing code is optimizing for the devices or the computers that you're running on, because you have to optimize so stuff works. You know, you want things to be fast. So occlusion is a big deal because with voxels, because voxels have depth to them, it's a pixel with depth. But what does depth mean? See, all of a sudden it's got that third dimension that, holy shit, that opens up basically infinity, where you take something like a pixel, which is a really finite scope, It's three things. It's three colors. That's it. They're on or off for some variation of brightness, you know. But with voxel, you take in depth, and oh man, what does depth mean? So there's got to be a way to limit that, right? And so, for example, when we're building out a 3D funnel, and we got something elaborate that we want to display to somebody, or some experience that might be computationally intensive, like showing some cloth waving or water moving, to make it photorealistic and make you feel like you're there. Water is very expensive computationally to do that. So the way that Minecraft did this is something called procedural generation, and using voxels. So voxels, what they do is allows you to have depth, obviously, but it also allows you to have the information that the user needs to see. And if the stuff that they don't see, they don't need to see, it doesn't have to be computated. So what it is basically a pixel with depth, but the ability to shut off pieces of it. So that it means inclusion. And in the view, I put it in the view and in the render. So what it means is, whenever you're looking at and I'm going to show you, I'm just giving you some theory here, and I'll show you visually what it looks like in a second. So in the view, for example, in Minecraft, you build the whole world with little cubes, right? Well, you see a cube, but you don't really see a cube. You see whatever pieces of the cube is in front of you. You don't see the back, top, and bottom that's hidden from your view. Well, the camera that's in the software knows this, and so it eliminates all the other stuff you don't see. It's just simply not there. It doesn't occlude it. It doesn't hide it. It just eliminates it. So it eliminates it in the view, and it eliminates in the render. What I mean by that is that it's not just something that's built there and then it just hides displaying the back because it's saving a little bit of resources by not displaying the back of it. No, the back of it is not even rendered. It's not created by the software at all in the first place. This is a big deal because it's a big difference than what traditionally goes on with stuff. And taken to extreme levels, it changes the world. It really does. And you take it to really extreme levels, you realize this is how the universe works, and this is quite literally how our electromagnetic matrix world we live in is created and generated. The shit we don't see doesn't fucking exist. It's only created procedurally as we think about it and move through life and have beliefs around it. Well, what we're doing with this is building the Matrix. We're building the Ready Player One version of all this shit, and it's going to start with making funnels. So let me show you how this is done. We'll just show you. Where is it? Here it is. So this is just I just Googled, or sorry, I went into YouTube and I searched for up here Minecraft gameplay. I just wanted to show you, if you haven't seen it, this is just somebody inside of Minecraft playing it. So you guys see these cubes here. So this is grass and earth, and this is stone. Minecraft is done in this way. It's a stylized thing to have this pixelized world. But it's ingenious because it allowed them to create these infinite worlds with very, very low use of resources computationally. So you don't need a super fast computer. You don't need all kinds of stuff you get away with that would normally be impossible. You would just shut the fuck down. So what I'm talking about here is, so you see a cube here, right? So your brain paints a picture that this is a cube, and as we move around here, like, now your brain believes anymore. It's painting a picture of all these cubes. Now look at this. Look at these here. These cubes here have moving stuff on it, so it's meant to look like lava, right? So this is stone. This is lava. But what you're really seeing here is you're only seeing faces, and they're only displaying the faces and the pieces of faces that need to be there, and everything else is completely eliminated. In fact, it's not even generated. It's not that it's generated and then it's removed. That's computationally intensive as well, because you got to create it and I'll do all the computations. Because think about it, if this was actually generating every single bit of information for all of these cubes in this world, because think about it, to do that you'd have to also figure out all the cubes that are underneath this to stack this. It creates a volume. This is inside of something. So it's not only the depth below, it's the depths above and all around, and you would have to have all that information in there. especially as you understand how the game works, is right now the player could start going in the middle here, and you'll see him. He could start digging around, could start, he's changing tools so he could build things, start digging around. So if he can dig around, or he can build things up and go sideways and do whatever he wants inside this little world, then you have to have all that information there. It's got to be there, right? No. What you have is procedures to generate that stuff inside of a series of instructions, and then only display to what actually has to be seen. And from a game building perspective, it's amazing. It changed everything because it allowed them to create these infinite worlds. Let's see if I can find a different, because he's inside of something here. So see here. Okay, here we go. Hopefully back up a little bit. So see all of this stuff that he's doing here is water. You got zombies walking around. All this stuff that you see here did not exist before this player got within a certain range of this stuff. And then as the player got close, it generates it. And you'll see a lot of it. I'm going to show you a million examples of this going forward, because I'm doing a lot with procedural generation. It's going to be everything in our funnels. I need you to understand how this works, because think about this. All you got to do is kind of like a chat bot. You just define what a chat bot does. And then as the customer goes through and experiences something with the chat bot, then the chat bot would be building the page of what the user sees and experience. We're already there. I mean, it's chatbots mixed with Minecraft. Really it. I mean, the tech's already here. Just nobody's thinking about it yet. And it's not even that expensive to run. It's a little bit bleeding edge. Not much, though, because now we've got WebAssembly. WebAssembly is a big subject we've talked about in the past. I won't cover it now, but and WebGL, which allows 3D. It's a 3D engine renderer that's built into every browser now, even on mobile devices. So let's just watch this. See how these worlds. Now this person, I don't know for sure, but this person could have built this world we're seeing here. That's one of the things with Minecraft that you can do. You can build your own world. I don't know that for sure, but procedural generation is how Minecraft works. So they have these infinite worlds. You can go and explore and do things like this person's doing, and you'll see when they come up to you'll come up to mountains. You'll see there's water here. You'll see off in the distance that looks like there's a pool. Off in the distance it looks like there's an ocean with other land masses out there. See all of that stuff, and you can see back just off in the distance. Oh man, oh there we go. Just off in the distance there. See how it's hazy back in there? Well, that's obviously water and ocean, but it mimics how our eyes work with perspective and refraction with the atmosphere, so that it doesn't have to computate all that stuff, because we don't see it anyway. Where a regular video game would have all of that, it's already built. All the stuff's rendered, it's baked in, and you have to have these giant downloads, 10, 20, 30, 50, sometimes 100 gigabyte download for these games, because these worlds are already mapped out, and it's all this shit. So you got to have this giant files and all this stuff. No, we want something that we go to a page, people don't have to have anything installed, they load a browser, they go through and they can experience all this, and it builds itself procedurally on the fly with depth. So you see off in the distance here, in the background here, around the horizon, you see this in Minecraft a lot. And within a certain distance, you get close enough, and they did it on purpose so you can see it. They didn't have to, they could have hidden it, but in Minecraft, you start to go off into the boundaries of these worlds, and it starts building it. You'll see mountains start building in the background. You'll see the land start spreading out before you. It starts building itself. You can see it. So my first funnels that I build with, I'll actually use commercially. I mean, you guys will be the first ones I'll test them on, so you got to give me your feedback. But this is what my funnels will do. You won't really know what it's going to do. It'll just start, but you'll see it build out in front of you. and you'll see the choices, and eventually we'll hide that stuff, but you kind of want to see it, it makes it cool. But you can totally hide it. Like, you don't know what the next response of a chatbot's going to be, right? Well, what if you could kind of see it floating out there and kind of forming thoughts, and it's coming up with some ideas, and it presents you a couple, that's what I'm talking about. Well, in the game, it just displays that as mountains or rivers or whatever it is they want to display to you. That's just display. We're just turning on and off colors here in the end. So that's Minecraft. What I'm envisioning here. So imagine Minecraft. So you're traveling around this world, and now right here we're on the border of my website. Let's think about this for a second. Think about how a funnel could be procedurally generated into another procedurally generated funnel driven by something like Zapier through a bunch of API interactions. So what I mean by that, so we've just experienced this part of this funnel / game. Imagine this is a shopping funnel instead of you're just going around doing whatever they're doing inside the game, but you're shopping, it's just a different experience, okay? So now you're going through a funnel and there's reached a point where now maybe there's time for an upsell or a cross sell or to introduce you to a partner of ours, right? Well, that'd be your website. Well, they come to this part of my website and they're looking at it like, oh, well, man, that's some water out there. I just came out of the woods, and that's water, and it's a different kind of experience over there. Well, and as they go into that experience and go down into it, they actually go into your site, but there's never a page refresh. You don't have this jarring experience of like, oh, fuck, there's a pop-up or like whatever, of going to another website. No, you just go into it procedurally generated. Because if you've got a procedurally generated input on your website or funnel, coupled with somebody who has a procedurally generated output from their website or funnel, man, we can start building procedurally generated funnels and worlds that, man, it's going to change e-commerce completely. It takes a tiny bit of creativity and one or two people to see it. Once you see it, like, oh, fuck, why did we not ever just do it that way? That's how big it is. It's going to come quick. So I'm making it a point to be out in front of it. I've been working on it for a long time. You guys have heard me say similar things for a long time. But now we're starting to get to where all the pieces are coming together and it's making sense now, where we can deploy it and make it work. So as you would go into this procedure, so imagine you went off and now I'm in somebody else's website. Okay, now it's a completely different experience. And imagine that you didn't have a page refresh of any sort, but all that happened was the URL changed. All of a sudden, you're on a different website, a completely different URL, because all a URL is a marker. Think of it as waypoints in video games. You know how you play a video game and you proceed through certain levels, you achieve certain tasks, there's always a save point or a waypoint of some sort, so that you go and play a certain level and you lose or die or whatever. You don't have to go all the way back to the beginning. You go back to the waypoint or the save point. Well, that's all a URL is. It's a marker to a save point, a waypoint, a place that you want to remember how to get back to, right? Well, I'm working very fucking hard. I haven't figured out yet how to do this so I can go from one website to another, one URL to another, and it never does a page. You just go into a different experience. It's not quite possible yet because it's just you got to be able to load assets from somewhere. So anyway, there's some challenges to overcome there, but damn, we are fucking close. Really close. Because a URL, all it does is routing. So in the future, we'll be able to give people a link. It'll be a long one with a whole lot of data in the link. But, obviously with link shorteners and stuff, that's pretty easy to handle. We'll be able to give somebody a link and they'll be able to jump right in the middle of some wild ass shopping, crazy fucking experience that we've curated or developed or figured out. And we're like, hey, check this shit out, man. And guess what? When that person comes back to that URL, even though you shared the URL exactly where you were before and you experienced some wild ass shit, whatever it was you'd never seen before, the person comes back there again because it's procedurally generated. It'll be different. It'll be a different experience, and we'll have all this data for knowing which one works better. So those responses that we get, the conversion numbers, all those normal KPIs will determine what our procedural generation does. It will literally determine what those procedures are. So for example, we have procedures right now for building websites that are always standard, at least internally, because the numbers are always better. The numbers are always better with a video on the page, for example. Always. So a procedure is always have a video on the page. Another procedure is always have an opt-in box. Always have similar sort of squeeze page on pages. Always capture people's information. We know what size fonts to use. We know what size, what type of fonts to use. We know what colors work. All of those are procedures that we've developed over many, many years of split testing things. So we know what works already in a 2D world. All of that is just data that we'll be using to track and build out procedures. So instead of having to statically build a page, it will be dynamically built procedurally via this framework of ideas that we give to our machine. That's what I'm working on. So visually, what I'm going after, I just want to have a stark difference. So I'm just going to show you guys. I've been following a lot of game designers and 3D CGI graphic type people. I say that like they're different kind of people. It's literally what I do. But I've been delving into a lot of what you're seeing on the screen here with creating these worlds, and gamers are way ahead on all this stuff. But the difference with gamers is they only think about it in a really tiny environment of a game. Well, guess what, man? We're in the game of life. Everything's a fucking game. You marry this together with e-commerce, internet marketing stuff. It's big. It's big. The problem with it now is just like in the early days of anything, it's expensive, it's hard, it's a lot of barriers to entry, which is what you want because that's where the opportunity is, right? So what you're seeing on the screen here is a game artist I've been following, and they're creating a fucking cool game, and the game is called Cloudpunk. This is it. Let me go back. They got some video here. It's Cloudpunk. It's on Steam, which is one of the biggest game vendors, distribution networks out there. So it's a game about I guess you're some sort of delivery driver, taxi driver or something, and you fly around this cyberpunk Blade Runner-ish type world. And I just think it's beautiful. And I just thinking, man, well, what the fuck? What is this? Is your website? And you fly around and you go into a building, and that building is somebody else's website. Or you go into a Nordstrom's build a shopping center, and you go into Nordstrom's e-commerce site and you shop around. Not in a goofy ass fucking thing where you pretend to walk around in the store and pretend to be telepresence there. I mean, no, create a whole different experience with this. Amp up the Ready Player One thing. Make it fucking like, holy shit, you gotta go experience this. That's what the internet used to be, and what made it explode so bigly was that at one point it all had to get all made us feel something like awe, like, whoa, wow, this is cool. I want to experience that again. And over time, we've gotten used to like what it is now. Now it's flat and boring, at least for me. I don't have a sense of awe and wonder with technology and the internet anymore. But this gives me that. Because if it's not something that's there, because then all of a sudden, if you just know that it's a new experience every time you go do it, or it's going to be slightly different for every single person that goes through there, then all of a sudden you got a whole new level of adventure to it. So my first website, matttrainer.com, is going to be something like this. I don't know what. I'm not going to steal their style, but kind of. I mean, they stole it from Blade Runner, so whatever. So I just like this, man. I just, even if it's skip all the, bleeding edge, traveling into somebody else's website thing, but just on your own website. Instead of having just a boring ass fucking blog, what if your blog is in a coffee shop? I don't fuck it. It's so many different ways you could do this. It's way more interesting. So this is kind of where we're heading with it. So imagine these things where you're just flying around experience, and this could be something that will work in a mobile device right now. You can run it on a desktop, obviously. You don't need VR headset or any of that shit. And then there's another level of abstraction here, sort of abstraction, that is coming quickly. That's going to change everything, and that's eliminating the background. So you've got depth, but you eliminate the background via the camera. And what I'm talking about is then you got augmented reality world. So not only are you in this depth world, it's on a web page maybe, but no, when you can then experience it via the camera and walk through your 3D world, 6 degrees of movement. So you can have your phone and be experiencing this inside the real world, like an extremely advanced version of Pokemon Go. So all of this stuff is already here. I mean, it's not even fantasy. This isn't like, talking to us in this, philosophers in the 60s where we're like 50 years out. No, the shit works right fucking now. It's not there for e-commerce. There's not anybody actively using this for e-commerce and thinking about it in a way to sell products yet. Because it's got to be somewhat, for this to work, for businesses to take it on as a marketing thing, you've got to have it easily distributable, and it hasn't been yet. That's a big problem up until now, because you have to like the games, for instance. With games, you got to fucking install like giant, software packages. You gotta have a badass fucking computer, and you gotta have a VR headset. Even if you don't be in VR, even these games are just giant downloads, and you just can't have that experience in a funnel, especially something procedurally generated. Nobody's gonna sit around and wait for an hour for something to download. Oh, you just be like, hold on, it's gonna be great. It's gonna convert really great when you see it. No, it's gotta load in every browser. It's gotta run on, well, at least on most browsers. Most common ones, and load on nearly every device, and load relatively quickly, and load over medium to low bandwidth situations, which is another challenge. So, it's bleeding edge, but it's not that bleeding edge. So at least we know now that there's a future to it. Hold on, do you see that, guys? So back up here. So see that water down here in the bottom of this? Let me pause this. Down in here. That kind of thing right there, if you think about that, animating all those triangles down there to make that water display is very computationally intensive. For what? A little bit of a shimmer to give you some sort of an idea there's water there? It's cool, but you got to think about it. Like, these things are expensive to render on a CPU, a GPU. I mean, there's some of this stuff that won't even run on stuff that doesn't have a GPU. Not everybody has a GPU on their computer. So all these things have to be taken into account, and that's why we haven't seen a lot of this yet out there for marketing funnels. But the time is now. Things are changing, and that's where we're headed with it. So voxels, volumetric occlusion, dynamically generated via procedural generated is the future. So there you go. Now you know. That's it for today, guys. I appreciate you all. I hope you learned something. You got a lot of work to do, I'm telling you, because I've been in this for a couple of years now, and I still feel like I'm a fucking rookie. Like, I don't know a damn thing about it. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing. This is since my days of the chatbot funnel system I launched, I don't know however long ago it was, year and a half ago. No, it's a year and a half ago, 2 years. Shit, I don't know. It's been a while. I've just been expanding upon those ideas, and really what I'm doing is building a 3D gaming world that's built kind of on top of, or I guess in conjunction with, a chatbot system, so that the user interaction builds out these worlds and experiences on the fly, and or at least it will appear to be on the fly. We still got it, there's enough randomness in there that it will appear to be completely random, and will be a unique experience for each person eventually, but still within our control, and when we know what works, so you still control the user experience. So the future of movies, for example, because in the end, like, we still have 2D movies, we have 3D movies, but they're fake in 3D, and then it's not even very good fake anymore. It's good, it's a little bit more immersive, obviously, but man, the next level of movies will be volumetric video, or volumetric movies, where, in fact, last year or 2 years ago, 3 years ago, the first VR movie won an Oscar. It's a virtual reality movie where you go in and you're in virtual reality, but it's an entire movie. So it's a movie you experience the movie the way that the artists and the directors and the creators envisioned it. But because it's in VR and you've got a range where you can move around and see things on your own accord, you experience it your own way. That was 3 years ago that happened, guys. The next will be volumetric movies, where we'll be able to, like, imagine a murder mystery that happens in, say, like a diner. You might be experiencing the movie as somebody that's in the diner, just having a meal. Well, in a volumetric movie, choose your own adventure type style, provided the director lets you. Now, there'll always be stuff that's kept a mystery. Provided the director lets you, you'll be able to go experience that same scene in the movie, for example, looking from the kitchen as a cook, looking at the person that's having the meal that was you in the other scene. So you watch the same movie from two different perspectives. That's what volumetric does for you. It opens up a giant world of craziness. And Netflix has already experimented with some of this choose your own adventure type stuff. That's what I'm talking about. But we need to be able to do that with our funnels, because we can't, make some complicated giant bunch of videos that tie together and make a funnel very well. We can, we will, but it's a lot of work. We want to make it so it's easier and still in terms of a slippery slope of a funnel that we can throw together in a few hours and not spend weeks and weeks and weeks on it, right? So that's the next level. That's it for today, guys. Look for you guys that are in the Automati stuff, the Automati channels, and interested in SEO. I've been deep in some planning and working on the next level of this thing, and I've decided to take this thing to a place I've never really taken it to before, because I was just scared of dealing with it. So I'm going to open up direct access to my personal PBN that's behind Automati. I've never done that before. Nobody's ever fucking touched it. Never had direct access to it ever. Automati, all it ever did was build a little shell around it, and then you got a buffer. So what you're going to get access to is that. So I'm going to update you guys on that a little bit later. It's going to be cool. So look for that. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on Freaky Friday. We'll talk about something freaky. I don't know. See you on Friday. Later, guys. See you next week.